Welcome to the CPO Rising podcast series brought to you by Products That Count, the world's largest nonprofit community, engaging over 500,000 product managers and chief product officers united by a mission to empower everyone to build products that truly count. In a world flooded with products, only a few ignite passion, deliver value at scale, and transform lives. Behind those exceptional products are visionary CPOs and high-performing product teams. We recognize these trailblazers through our coveted awards, accelerate careers from PM to the C-suite and beyond through daily best practices, and serve as the trusted advisor to nearly all Fortune 1000 CPOs. Our corporate alliance includes Walmart, Ford, Cisco, Johnson & Johnson, Amplitude, and more. The most admired product leaders across industries serve on our advisory council, guiding the future of product leadership. Together, we're shaping a future where every product counts. Learn more at productsthatcount.org. Produced in partnership with Capgemini and Mighty Capital, this series brings you exclusive conversations between our resident CPO, Renee Niemi, and the 2025 CPO Award winners. Get ready for raw insights, real strategies, and the secrets behind their success. Let's get into it.
Today, I have with me Aaron Sievers. Aaron is the Chief Product Officer of Noom and is one of our award nominees and finalists this year. Aaron, first of all, I want to start by saying congratulations on being one of our top Chief Product Officers this year.
Well, thank you. I'm very humbled to be nominated. As I mentioned to you earlier, I'd love to know who's saying such great things about me.
Everybody, Aaron, everybody. And for anybody who's going to be listening to this interview, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So before we get started, why don't we have you introduce yourself, 2 minutes or less? I'd love to learn, obviously, a little bit about Noom, your current role, and maybe just anything about the lead up journey that got you to your current position.
Sure. So I'm Aaron Sievers, Noom's CPO. So Noom helps people live better, longer through healthy habits and clinical support. We're known for our mobile app that acts as your companion and health coach, and for helping you use psychology to lose weight. That's really where the core Noom product started. But we've also recently expanded to medication-assisted programs for weight loss and menopause care, most recently. I joined Noom after being in the health and wellness space at Mind Body previously. Diving into wellness, coming from a long background in software as a service, and then dove deep into healthcare in a prior role where I was focused on bringing mobile virtual care to health plans and their populations. I joined Noom because of the opportunity for one, the product is amazing. It really works. It helps people accomplish things that that they've been struggling their whole lives with. Losing weight is something that's very difficult, and I really saw it as an opportunity to um, scale the ability for people to understand their health and take action in a way that that the healthcare industry really struggles with because of the typical brick and mortar and even most common telehealth modalities.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, listen, you've had a storied career, no doubt. Um, I would love your lens on how product leadership has really morphed over the last 5 or 10 years.
So, I'd say that every organization has different needs and a different time. So, I don't know that product leadership has morphed over the years as much as I think every organization is different in terms of what it needs, and every team is different in terms of what it needs in a leader. And so, for example, when launching a new business line at a startup or even within a larger company, oftentimes the product leader takes on GM responsibilities, builds out teams beyond software into services and operational needs, because ultimately the product includes the entire experience, not just the digital aspects. I'd say in my current role, I have a larger team where we have multiple functions: product, design, research, content, product-led growth. So try to spend time every week with each focus area within my group and help them to refine the direction of earlier stage initiatives, get ready for launches, discuss next steps based on metrics and other inputs. But ultimately, I look at my primary job as making sure my team has the business context and support that they need to succeed, and also that leaders of other groups are aligned with my team's priorities.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Uh, I I I especially appreciate the lens, depending on where the company is in their journey. The need for leadership really does change and morph over time. So I appreciate that. Obviously, there's been a lot of new tools, like a lot of new innovation. Has that impacted your role at all?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd say that the impact of AI is huge, and in 2025, I think we're going to continue to see this just move faster than we even think it will. Um, I I think that the big changes we've seen in engineering with co-pilots and more agentic AI tools that can complete engineering tasks for you is also going to be leveraged more and more in product and other functions within our space. So my focus right now is really on having every team member in my group start with AI and start with these new tools. Um, I can give some examples. Like when faced with a new problem or idea, I ask my team, I say, well, ask ChatGPT or another specialized tool built on an LLM to propose a solution before you even write up what you think the solution is. It'll just make it. It'll give you ideas. It'll make things faster. It'll help you scaffold your thoughts. And then when you get to your solution, that you might propose, just think for a minute about how that solution might even be different if you're taking an AI first approach. For example, I recently reviewed a proposal for my team for content suggestion within the new map, and the proposal was basically to start by selecting something at random for a member in the app, just to support a faster MVP build. And then we would build an algorithm that would give content based on what the user's stated interests were and what they've engaged with previously. Um, but we also already have AI integrations with the LLMs and other areas of product. So my aspect of the team was, why not just prompt the LLM based on what we know about the user and the list of articles we have available to suggest something that user would like. Uh, it literally could replace the need for us to build an entire system. And that's an example of just like something that's changed. I mean, these tools are incredibly powerful. And so I like to start with them now versus thinking about, how do we make AI part of this later?
Yeah, absolutely. I heard somebody say the other day that it's transformed me from a writer to an editor in context of work. So it's like having, let's say you use 3 LLMs on a daily basis. It's like having three sets of advice, and then you go, okay, now I can like edit pieces of that I believe in, and then just add my own color and beliefs and value, so to speak. It's crazy how quickly things are moving on that front. Thank you for sharing those examples. I think bringing them to life is super super helpful. I know based on our prior conversations that culture is really important to you. Explain to me a little bit around the culture at Noom, maybe what attracted you to join there. And, if you believe that it's centered around a particular function or concept or ideas, would love to hear that. And specifically how that impacts you as a product leader. In other words, how do you make decisions? How do you set priorities? How do you change priorities? That kind of context.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, I would say that Noom is quite product centered. As we're a primarily direct to consumer business, we do have enterprise products as well. But as a direct to consumer business, uh, product and then also marketing are incredibly important to us, and we work very closely with the marketing team as well, to make sure that we're thinking about product expansion, positioning, product led growth hand in hand, with how we're bringing things to market. Um, our model is largely also trial to pay, or with lower priced intro months, and so there's a low barrier to start using our product, and then people have to decide: do they keep it? Do they keep doing it? Do they pay for it? And so that leads us to really focus and fixate on the product, and both the quality of the product and also the metrics. And so a big part of our culture um, is that we spend a lot of time within leadership, making sure that we align on where we see as the best opportunities for us to expand the value that we bring in terms of where we can expand our solutions, to provide more ways to connect our user base with their health, and also as we think about marketing, where can we what can we lead with that we're not leading with today? And usually that drives some of our solutioning in terms of, if we're going to expand into a new area, it has to be something that our existing users and the demographic that we already uh, have access to would resonate with. But also, we spend quite a lot of time talking about what could we, spend behind, what could we actually, where we could we bring in new people on a new new offering. Um, Within the product team, we, that, like, culturally, like, I would say we cascade a lot of that from leadership. But then I my mantra to my product team is that, this is where see things going, but your job is to guide the business. The product team's ultimate um, job at Noom is to be the guide. And that doesn't mean that you're making the decision. That means that you're synthesizing the information that's coming, and you're identifying um, what what the best of what you believe, and you've thought through is the best recommendation for us to maximize our success, given that priority, or that input. And that's been really successful, I think, over the last um, uh, better part of a year that I've been at Noom, just seeing the team really uh, take that on and have that mantra resonate, and it leads to a very healthy relationship between um, different stakeholders and partners across the organization.
I want to stick with a point that you made in there, around, um, the product team is really responsible for, that trial, and you put energy in that. Does that extra energy, does that mean, from a evolution, uh, like how do you structure around that importance? Because that's a pretty big deal. That first experience that a user has.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that historically at Noom, there's been quite a lot of energy focused on that first experience, that trial to pay, or days 0 to 7. And part of that is just because of the nature of our product. We're helping you build healthy habits, and once establishing a new habit is really hard. But once you actually get it going, it's easier to maintain. And so we do spend a lot of time on the early experience, and there's been a lot of historically a lot of experimentation in terms of what how quickly we introduce new concepts to users. We have actually a lot of features that are hidden when you first start, and then you discover them as you progress through the program. And so that's been very deliberately designed and iterated on. But I would say that over time, our goal is to continue to expand and really meet users where they are. And so the personalization aspect is understanding for you, your program and what we recommend may be different than for someone else. And so that's an area that we're really leaning into as well. And that also can change for people over time. And so we're starting to talk more about, you came in with this particular, need that you identified yourself, or that you identified through the self assessments that we do in our onboarding. But your needs do change over time, and we want to do a better job at introducing new opportunities to you, versus just having you accomplish your goal with Noom and then say, okay, I'll take a break now and then I'll come back if I need you.
Yeah, I'm just going to confess here that after the first time you and I met, I actually joined Noom. It has been just a quick little plug. It has just been an amazing product experience. So um, I I um, I personally really really appreciate everything that you're saying in terms of the habit building. I'm still working on that, by the way. The habit, uh, to the point where the app actually reminds me, you haven't checked me in a while, which is amazing. Um, you mentioned because of how your culture is product centered, that the metrics really mattered. Why don't we spend a minute on that? So talk to me about what the most important metrics are, and how you manage the team to the metrics.
Sure. So I'll say, like, in terms of what the most important metric, I used to say, based on, my prior experiences, that the most important metric that I've gravitated towards is NPS. Um, because Net Promoter Score, for those of you familiar with it, gives you an understanding of what percentage of people love your product enough to drive word of mouth versus those who could care less about it or even dislike it. And that's incredibly helpful to know. Basically how good, like, how is your product perceived? Are we doing a good job or not? Um, in the consumer space, and at Noom particularly, we do focus a lot on active user retention, daily, weekly, and over especially the first 30 days. And that, I think, because we're in a D2C space, nobody's required to use our product. It's not something that they have to do for their job. So they vote with their feet. When we look closely at this as a leading business metric, and that's one that I'm pushing more for us to follow as a team, and really uh, and really iterate on. We also, of course, have top of the funnel metrics that we focus on. We want to understand within our sign up flows, where are people getting stuck. So we do a lot of funnel analysis. And then we also do a lot of analysis of what happens to folks in that first week and first month in terms of trial to pay, and what influences that.
So, so I have to imagine, based on that, are you looking more at the trends? Is it going up, going down, or do you actually set a goal? What's the framework you use with your team for that?
Yeah, so it's really about understanding what's happening.
Mhm.
So depending on the particular initiative, we'll take different approaches. Sometimes and this is something uh, that every team should recognize, is that sometimes if you just focus on the metrics and you just experiment, and just do whatever the A/B test says, you end up with a product that ends up in a kind of strange place. So you have to have some conviction about where your product is going, and um, you know what that user journey uh, should be, and that you validated, and are working towards. But we do experiment quite a bit, um, when we're not sure necessarily what the impact of introducing something at one time or another within the experience would be. Uh, and so experimentation is definitely something that we often will use on when so that we can see, what actually is going to influence, what do people gravitate towards if they can do one thing, per day within the product. If we introduce something new, does that become something that people add to their journey, or is it something that they choose to do instead of something else, or is it something that may detract from the experience? And so that's very important for us to understand.
Yeah, yeah, that very interesting. Uh, when you see a really important metric go awry, and I'll let you define what that means. Do you take immediate action, or is it just like how do you react to it?
Sure. I mean, we're always trying to figure out the root cause of any of those types of anomalies. Sometimes it's external. When we're looking at, at the top of our funnel, it's like, well, what are competitors doing, with their ads, and uh, in channels where we're competing for eyeballs. In some cases, you scrutinize, like, well, how are we actually measuring this, and is it reflecting is it answering the question that we thought it was? Um, and so usually it just cascades to a set of follow-up asks for, getting to the getting to what I'd like to call the metrics chain, right? So how if this is the metric we're looking at in the executive dashboard, there's probably like three or four um, you know metrics that kind of lead to that one. And so let's look at the chain of events.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. In other words, everything is connected to each other, and don't overreact on one thing. That's kind of what I heard. I hope hopefully that's my summary is in the zone. So I want to shift gears a bit and talk about innovation. I've been, and it's probably driven from AI. A lot of tops down initiatives on AI, but I've been receiving a ton of feedback from the chief product officers that I talk to that's saying that the pace of change of specifically innovation is unprecedented at the moment. And for quite a few of them, it's on the border of being overwhelming, and like how do you navigate it? And there's just this fear of falling behind, all those classic issues. I would love your perspective on A, where you think innovation is now compared to other points in your career, and B, like, do you have any interesting frameworks or way to think about how you make sure that you're continuing the right level of innovation?
Great question. So I do think that where technology goes is it just gets easier and easier to do things that you used to spend more time to do in previous years, right? So um, it's so much easier for folks to build software solutions now than it was when I first started, 20 plus years ago, and every single thing we had to do from scratch. Um, and now with AI and LLMs, basically able to solve tasks and build things for you. Um, you can think of an idea and prompt for a prototype, and you'll have something that is, that's pretty close really fast, and then you can wire it up with functionality with another prompt, and suddenly you have a product, right? So it puts more onus on product management, particularly. Uh, to understand, when you're in a world where anybody can come up with ideas and actually take things even further, uh, it puts more onus on product management to be able to handle that volume and make effective judgment calls in terms of what do we focus on bringing to market. Um, and how do we also create an opportunity for really considering these different ideas that we're able to explore further now than before. um, but I would say that within my team and organization, um, we still take the approach that innovation is should be deliberate. We should be identifying how we want to create space for for teams to think outside the box and make that part of our process, and also structure. How long do we spend? How much time do we spend exploring a new trend or technology? And what are we looking to prove before we take it to the next step? That phase gate approach, I think, is very effective when you're building a culture of innovation, because um, it creates the space, but also the expectation that you have to actually show where it can go. Um, I will say, just like one of my topics around innovation is always the fact that you have to prioritize quality of what you already have before you go to the next thing. Um, I don't like to compromise on bug fixes, because no one's going to use that new feature or product when what you have today is already broken. So I expect the teams to prioritize addressing real, known problems that users are facing, and especially bugs, um, before just spending the whole team's effort on that next shiny object.
Yeah. Is there a model you use, like even if it's a mental model? And what I mean by that is, back when I was, leading a team as a chief product officer, I almost had a portfolio model in my mind. I'm like, I need to make sure that I'm spending, just throw the number out there, 20% of our resources on things that are slightly higher risk, but also have, much higher return. Is there any kind of model like that that you use, or is it more agile?
So I've done that before, but today I'm not using those types of specific allocations, because I also think that it's really about understanding the problems that you're trying to solve. The fact that if you let something stagnate, that's causing pain within the team, what we might call tech debt. um, you should be able to quantify what is the tax on the team today, and what would it take to resolve it, and make a logical choice. So that's how I approach things today, and I expect the teams to really, not just brush things under the rug, but to actually make deliberate decisions.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think I'm gonna coin a new term, and that's agile CPO. It's a combination of being agile or um, almost uh, in the moment, contextual. Anyway, I'm just making stuff up now, so we'll move on.
Yeah, I'll say at the board level, we identify, hey, here are our big growth levers, here are the investments, here's the general allocation, and that is important to understand. Where are you spending your resources? Um, so we do focus on making sure that that's visible.
Yeah, yeah, got it. That makes a ton of sense. You're in a very I don't know, hot industry that's also hyper competitive. So I would love your perspective, and your vision, if you will, is from the 50,000 foot level. Where do you think your industry is pointing? Like, what's your vision of the future for your industry, and what are you doing today as a CPO to make sure that your company, your team, your products are ready for it?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to spend some time talking about these things. Let me know if I go too far,
I
or too
doubt
long.
it.
Um,
I doubt you will.
yeah, I'd say so. Healthcare, especially digital health, it's changing dramatically, and changing very quickly. Consumers see health more and more as something that they should be and can make their own decisions about, especially for their more basic needs. Uh, the internet, of course, made information more available, so people would search for things that they're experiencing, or might be concerned about, but AI is also now making it more not just available but accessible. And in fact, I've heard from some folks at some of the larger AI companies that health is a top use case that they see in terms of people asking questions within their experiences. So so what consumers, I would say, want and expect now is to be able to do their own research, learn about treatments, and then access care, get recommendations, and even get medications and tools to help them address those more basic health needs without gatekeepers like primary care doctors and insurance. And so that, that's really what we're seeing happening within digital health, especially in the direct to consumer space. And this approach, I would say, is extremely prevalent in Noom's core uh, market for weight loss treatments, with GLP-1s being so safe and effective as medications for many people, and relatively easy to prescribe. And that's why there's been this huge arms race in the industry built around digital health in medication assisted weight loss. But we're also seeing that just the concept of individualized medicine and longevity thinking is going from something that only a few could access before to becoming more mainstream and mass market. And so we have authors and influencers bringing awareness to the space, direct to consumer lab testing becoming available and affordable as cash pay options, potentially even being cheaper than going through your insurance, because insurance, unfortunately, coverage is not necessarily getting better. um, and uh, uh, and then we also have all of the innovations that have already happened around fitness trackers and even more medical focused devices like uh, glucose monitors, continuous glucose monitors, or CGMs, making it possible for people who really want to understand their health get those insights very quickly, and then seek approaches to improve their health in the long term through digital wellness and healthcare platforms. And so, um, while everyone needs primary care and preventive healthcare, everyone does need it. Not everyone engages with it as much as they probably should or aspire to. That is an opportunity that we see primary care as really, and the unbundling of primary care into more consumer friendly and accessible digital health offerings being the the
Hmm.
opportunity that at least I see as most interesting at the moment.
Wow. The unbundling of primary care. That's fascinating. So that's a big vision, obviously. There's tons of evidence that you're starting to see um, to support that vision. How do you internally make sure that your company, because it could take you in a lot of different directions, how do you align on which pieces of that vision you're going to deliver against and make sure that you have the right talent and the right skills on the team?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been building towards that for some time now. Last year, we actually built a whole new clinical platform on the software side. We sourced, vetted, and integrated partners on the clinical provider side of the house, as well as pharmacies to help us deliver treatments alongside our digital behavior change programs. And we built a phenomenal operations and clinical team in-house at Noom, with our chief medical officer, and we have a pharmacist on staff that works with us as well, as an operations team of care coordinators and health coaches. So we have the healthcare you always need some form of provider driven, clinical expertise really well plugged in to your team in order to deliver solutions that in the healthcare space. And so we have that, more than ever, in addition to um, in addition to the world class product team and engineering teams, design teams, research teams to deliver amazing experiences and make healthcare more accessible through that uh, through our mobile apps and just the ability that technology can scale more than human beings and individual providers. So,
Yeah,
did
that
I
makes
answer your
sense.
question?
It absolutely does. Do you ever consider acquisition to help accelerate these pieces? Or are you more, we rather build it to our standards?
Well, I think we always do that build versus buy um, assessment whenever we're looking at almost anything. It just makes sense. A lot of things out there are, um, there are relative commodities, and there are partners that you can get access to different pieces of the solution. What's harder to do is put it all together, especially in healthcare where you're or digital health where you're looking to provide someone not just uh, one specific point solution, but in Noom's case, we're looking to connect people with their overall health and then identify for them what should they do next. That's really the future of what we see, and um, so we look at our job as bringing together the best of things that we build ourselves, but also partner with, and potentially down the line, there might be something that we acquire, although we haven't, to my knowledge, done been acquisitive to date.
Got it. Okay. That's super helpful. You know, getting back to your history, and you really have had just kind of this amazing set of experiences. You've been a part of the founding team of several companies, quite entrepreneurial from that perspective. So you've seen the world 0 to 1 many times over. And when I mean that, building, from scratch, new products and establishing new customer bases. Um, so tell me, obviously you're in a very different modality at Noom, but tell me how all of that grit and effort and learnings have prepared you for kind of what you're facing, of leading the team today at Noom.
Sure. So I think I could just give advice on the different experiences that have helped me, and um,
Perfect.
but everyone has their own experiences, and product management as a profession is amazing because you can come into it from different places, different backgrounds, and different inclinations. Uh, I will say that I believe that there is no substitute to being a startup founder. Uh, Startup Doing a startup is one of the hardest things you can do. You're creating something from nothing. You have very limited resources, especially at the beginning, until you're enormously successful in terms of the statistics. Uh, it forces you to learn to be scrappy, to do multiple jobs well at the same time. It really does. It is a skills accelerator. Definitely, um, I definitely saw that. It has helped me tremendously. But there's also no substitute for working in a scaled organization and working with people who are among the best in the world in their specific areas. So, how to organize and motivate larger teams to succeed together, and um, is also something that you have to learn, and you have to learn by doing it in an organization that has already figured out how to do it, at least in their context. So I've been fortunate to have had both types of experiences. I've also been an engineer and CTO. So I would say one of the things that helps me is that while I'm not the best at most things, I have a very good idea of what it takes and how I can support people who have each type of role. So and at Noom, we're also right now expanding rapidly into multiple into new product areas, and that it really helps that I've been a founder in that context because I it helps me have the confidence uh, and understanding of how to roll up my sleeves whenever something comes up and just make it work if needed. And today, Noom really does have the elements of both a scrappy startup and a scaled business. So I'm actually working in both contexts quite often.
Yeah, I'll bet you are. Do you have a preference? Like, do you love one over the other, or
This is the best mix, honestly. I really like it. I'm never bored, and there's always there's always something new to learn and contribute to, and I'm also always asking the question to my team, and am I helpful? What help can I provide? Don't just if I'm butting in on something, you don't need me, you need to tell me.
I love that. That's amazing. I get it, right? Because here you don't have to worry about funding. You can kind of focus on your job. So you don't have any of those probably unsavory, conditions that you do in a startup or a scale up. But on the flip side, you have just this kind of almost endless opportunity for an established brand to expand into new markets. So you kind of get to build, but on a really cool base. So,
Yeah, we do focus. I mean, efficiency is key. I mean, we are,
or
uh, we're still very much a startup, and we're a bigger startup, but we're always worried about, are we spending our resources in the right places? We're always, we definitely have a budget, so it's certainly we're certainly not in an environment where we can just do whatever we want,
yeah.
but that's good and it's healthy.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But by the way, I'm not sure I've ever been in an environment where the budget was endless. Well, maybe one. But anyway, we won't go there. Um, all right. Well, listen, I think we are now at the what I call rapid fire question and answer section. Are you ready to go?
Sure.
All right. So, in your opinion, what makes a great product leader?
Well, I would say it's very hard to be great at product. So great to me would mean the ability to quickly identify a need, the opportunity, the potential solution, then communicate the plan, get everyone on board, and point it in the same direction and get it done. So it's hard.
Everything. Got to do it all. Got it. All right. Fair enough. Next question for you. What is your current favorite tool and why?
So lately, I've been spending a lot of time with ChatGPT Deep Research. That is the most powerful tool I've seen for exploring opportunities, strategies, and solutions, especially in the health space.
Yeah. 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 AI is just unlocking so much insight. It's amazing. All right. Moving on. What are you reading? Anything interesting?
So right now, I currently have on Spotify. I'm listening to "Lifespan: Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to" by David Sinclair. I find the science of longevity fascinating, but also just as just ideating on the problem space we have at Noom, how micro decisions that you make every day, like or at least on most days, make a huge impact on your future health, and how we can help with that.
Ooh, that's a good one. I love that. And then last but not least, who are you following?
Well, I subscribe to a few Substacks. One is Lenny Rachitsky's newsletter, which is frankly a torrent of useful information of product and growth ideas. I also try to listen to Melissa Perry's podcast. I think she does a fantastic job with product thinking, and I'm just a huge fan of the breadth of perspectives and deep dives that she brings to that.
Nice. Awesome. Well, listen, Erin, you've been incredibly generous with your time and sharing all of your insights. I just want to thank you so much for uh, spending the time with me today.
Thank you.
This is SC Moadi again, founder and chair of Products That Count. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you like what you heard, be sure to leave us a review on your favorite platform, including Spotify and Apple. And please check out our other resources at productsthatcount.org. They're designed to accelerate your product career and make product the most important function in business. Until soon.